Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home to Cycling Southland and the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Now in its 64th year, the SBS Tour is one of the country's longest running sporting events and the most prestigious title in New Zealand cycling. The list of past winners is a who's who of New Zealand road racing, and it remains the toughest test of the Kiwi calendar. 102 riders, 17 teams, 7 days, 836 kilometres and only one winner. The 2020 SBS Bank Tour started in earnest with the opening road stage from Invercargill to Gore. Chilly conditions greeted the riders for what is often a defining stage. An early breakaway featured Jordan Kirby and Matt Zenovich, with Southlander Zenovich claiming the Sprint Ace jersey by day's end. But the move of the day came late in the 151 kilometre stage. 2013 champion James Oram provided the perfect lead out up Gore's Broughton Street Hill to get away off the front with teammate Aaron Gate and Ben Oliver in tow, and the threesome was able to hold the peloton off. Gate took the win and holds a 6-second lead heading into Tuesday's stage from Riverton to Te Anau.
Absolutely fizzing last night. It's cool to get that win on the board early, and yeah, it's always a bit challenging when you take the yellow jersey quite early in the tour to have to defend, but at least we've got a few options in the team still for the overall win, so yeah, looking forward to a sunny day today.
Probably the best day I've ever seen in Riverton in my 10 years plus of doing this race. So yeah, there's a lot of wind this stage, and there's none today, so it could be a bit different. It's a bit of a transitional stage with the climb up the Remarkables tomorrow, so we'll see. I think maybe some guys will be looking for the break today. It's definitely a good day for it, so hopefully it's sort of a dynamic, aggressive race, and we can have a bit of fun out there.
Oh, I want rain and wind. What's this? Blue skies, that's not what I was promised. Yeah, I think I'm one of 3 or 4 international riders. We've got Neil on our team, he's from South Africa. PowerNet, I've got the American Adrian, and I believe there might be a Canadian in the race too. Unintentionally, I kind of entered into a relationship with one of your track stars, Emma Cumming, and yeah, I accidentally fell in love with her, and well, yeah, it's my benefit because now I get to stay in New Zealand and enjoy all of what New Zealand's got to offer.
We'll give it a go today. We've got the comp points pretty early on, so we'll have a crack at that, see what happens. There's Blackmount also, that's quite a good chance to pick up a handful of points over the Cat 1 climb there, take opportunities where we can, and yeah, have some fun out on the road.
There's a few points off Blackmount and stuff, and the first wee hill, so try to get up for them, and yeah, just see how it goes. Yeah, it should be good fun.
There'll be a few different cards being played today. There'll be teams wanting a bunch sprint for their sprinter to get up there, and then there'll be guys wanting the complete opposite, so I think we'll just have to make do what we can amongst it, and yeah, race our own race within the race.
Stunning conditions are greeting the riders here in the Riviera of the south of Riverton, where they're going to make their way up towards Te Anau with 148 kilometres, and the man with the job to do today in yellow, Aaron Gates.
Yes, Aaron will be really relishing these weather conditions. It's lovely to start a stage race with this kind of, sun and warmth and a lack of wind. However, the wind does disrupt the race, and the further up the GC you are, the more disruption you want. So these chaps will be hoping it blows up a wee bit once they get out of Tuatapere and on the way through to Blackmount.
Yes, as you can see from the graphic there, it's going to be some challenging terrain for these riders. A lot of ups and downs, particularly early on in the piece, for about the first 50-odd kilometres. And for those experienced riders in the tour, they'll be well aware of that sort of terrain.
And attached to those lumps and bumps, of course, are points for King of the Mountains and Sprint Preems, which is what all of these riders are after, and why the starts of these stages are so fast and furious in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland.
Now here we have the local man, Tom Sexton, in the Business South colours. Of course, he was in yellow on day one. What an outstanding effort for that team. And the Business South team, a fantastic concept, Doug. Some 40 sponsors from throughout Southland here are going to be supporting these 6 riders throughout the 7 days of racing.
Yeah, it is a wonderful concept, and it is a great way to sponsor a team. It helps share the load with that team and also get increased coverage. It would be a great thing for some of these other areas and regions in New Zealand to re-replicate and bring teams down. We'd love to see that.
Oh, I know the team from Windsor Wines and, of course, Custom Canvas with Matt and the team there, just ecstatic with the way the team is going and are very keen to continue to support these sort of guys year in and year out. So, as I said, a number of teams might just like to take that on board going forward in the tour. When we have 17 teams, I should say, Doug, this year in the tour, which is an outstanding effort considering the conditions of the year.
Yeah, once again, you can see here that this is all go at the start. There's the King of the Mountains rider who picked up all the points yesterday, the young boy from Wanaka, Paul Wright, riding for the Creation Science team. This lad is climbing exceptionally well. He is really chasing those points and is keen to keep that jersey on his shoulders, isn't he?
Yes, as we've mentioned before, with the climbs, various classifications are worth various sorts of points. So they would have sat down as a team early on in the day here and had a good look at the profile, deciding what the points are worth and ensuring that the mathematics continues to add up. But he'd be the sort of guy you would expect to be trying to sniff his way through to pick up a few of those hill climbs throughout the day here, as we see a bit of a break starting to go off the front here, Doug.
Yeah, not an unusual sight at the start of these stages, as we've talked about, but one of the key elements is who is represented in these starts of these stages. You can see further back there is one of the Transport Engineering Tallies team, and we've got, of course, we've mentioned the Creation Science Mitacue team, the Business South team, and once again in the middle of it all, Aaron Gate riding for the Blackspoke Prize Cycling Academy, right up in the mix. He is not letting anything out of his grasp today.
A lot of the classification jerseys being present in this break here, so this is going to send a bit of a shiver down the spine of the remainder of the peloton. Gate will be very quickly trying to decide what needs to happen here. He has got a couple of his teammates involved. We've got the Sprint Ace up there, the King of the Mountains in the mix as well. So this could be serious stuff, but it is very early on in the stage, and they're going to have to make a decision. Who's missing, of course? Michael Vink. No sign of him, potentially back in that second bunch. The sweat will be going on amongst that second group.
Yeah, things are stretching out here, Julian, and this is even before we get to Colac Bay. So it is very early days in this stage. And you can see here back in the chasing group, the reaction is starting to happen like you suggested, and they'll be really hammering it, trying to shut this down early on. This is really, really panic station, seeing a group like this, like you said, with all the classification jerseys going up the road.
So we look at the likes of the PowerNet team seem to be missing from this main group here towards the front, the Corvin Strongs and co. So there will be a bit of stress going on. We can see about 3 bunches here on the road, but no real organisation in this front group at this point.
Yeah, one of the issues when all of these teams are such well represented and there's such big numbers, often you see a whole lot of foxing and sitting up going on. We need to split it up a wee bit more. There needs to be a wee bit more of a selection go on, so there's perhaps not so many numbers there and not so many chaps just following wheels through. But it's going to be a pivotal stage, I think, if it starts blowing up further around the coast to Atapri. We've seen some atrocious conditions, but looking at it, it's a beautiful day out there.
So this lead group now coming back together after some furious racing early on in the stage here, but just on the other side now of Tuatapere, of course, New Zealand's sausage capital. These guys here deciding it's time to get serious, and it's Paul Odland, Doug. Well, how many times have we seen this? The former Oceania time trial champion, he's gone on the attack here. Is anyone going to go with him?
Like you say, Paul Odland's such a seasoned campaigner in the SBS Bank Tour. He has won multiple titles throughout New Zealand. He's racing this year in the over 35 category. I wonder if this move is to sort of set things up for that jersey, but I think his PowerNet team will be saying, hey, look, let's get some riders up the road, try and control the pace in the peloton a wee bit, send someone away so that we can organise our chasing a wee bit more at the back of the field here, and try and structure it a wee bit more than what we've been seeing, because it's very catastrophic when it's all going to's and fro's all the time.
Well, the 100k to go here, and it is the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains. We've already seen him early in the stage here. He's decided he's seen the likes of Odland go, and he knows when Odland goes, it's an opportunity to try and pick up a few dollars down the road. And as we see it, of course, PowerNet, by sending the likes of Odland up the road, allows for some of their team leaders just to relax a bit in the bunch, because they're not expected to be on the front then when they've got one of their teammates up there. And that's the likes of the Corvin Strongs, the Alex Heaney's, the Ollie Jones. They've got a very strong team indeed this year.
And just as we speak, who's sneaking across to the front group here? Dylan Kennett from the Transport Engineering Tallies team, and that looks like one of the Black Spoke Pro Cycling Academy has come across with them as well. So quite a sharp move here, and we've now got a front group of 4 riders.
Yeah, it looks like the familiar shape there of Alexandra White from Auckland, as we look to former junior world champion in the team's pursuit, Bailey O'Donnell from Canterbury. Quite relaxed. He's got his teammate up the road as former New Zealand champion James Fouché, also looking pretty relaxed with things here. And this, of course, will work in the favour of the break.
Alexander White here receiving some instruction and another water bottle from the Black Spoke Pro Cycling Academy team car. It'll be interesting to know what that instruction was and whether or not this is going to be a hindrance to this breakaway.
Well, it's certainly a lot of experience coming from that car, of course, with the team director being Scott Geithner, a former winner of this tour. So he's giving his young charge some serious bit of advice going on here, Doug. Of course, he's been given the job just to sit on the back because of his team, of course, are leading in the yellow jersey, and the other 3 will be very much aware of that. And you can see Gate quite happy with the situation for that there. That just takes a bit of pressure off them.
And there we go, the split has occurred in that front group. Maybe that instruction from the team car was to sit up and not to contribute to this breakaway, but it certainly had the effect of splitting up this front group. That is not what they'll be after.
No, we can see Kennett there looking over the shoulders going, what is going on? We had 4 riders at one point there rolling along quite smoothly together. Now all of a sudden down to the pairing. But Kennett, he's been around a long time, both internationally on the track and the road, so he'll just continue battling away there as they head up the Blackmount Hill, the biggest climb of the day.
Yeah, perfect conditions for climbing the Blackmount Hill, and the riders will be really settling into a rhythm now. You can see here, this is the front of the peloton, and the Vet for Farm team have been called to the front to try and control things a bit. Across the top, Dylan Kennett's receiving a bit of instruction from his team manager on the side of the road. These guys are kind of in no man's land at this stage. They've got a long way to go. They're rounding the top of the climb very shortly, but it's still a long way to the finish from here.
But traditionally, this is the point in the race where the tour begins to light up on this particular stage here, where a lot of the teams wait until they get to the base of the hill and then start to slowly but surely reel in the break. And these 2 here will be well aware of it as they're about to hit down into the descent, where they'll pick up some strong pace down there.
They'll really pick up some speed. This is a really steep descent off this climb, and then you've got a series of flats all the way through to Manapuri. But the fireworks in the peloton that we were probably thinking we might have seen, the peloton has not really split up that much. So they're tempoing up this climb, and they're probably going to hope to catch up with these guys on the other side. But there's still a fair bit of racing left in these 2. They are seriously flying down the other side of this hill.
Yes, as they float on down the other side, they'll be making all sorts of decisions in their head whether or not they have a serious chance still at this particular stage. And talking of serious chances, there is still the chase going on there with Paul Odland further on back after dropping off before the Blackmount. Looks like the 2 of them are deciding they need to get back onto these 2 at the front with only 40k to go. That could be all on for these 4.
And that motorbike that just went past there has got the blackboard on with the time check, so don't be surprised if these 2 riders that are out the front here, young Dylan Kennett and the King of the Mountains rider Paul Wright, sit up, wait for these 2 to catch up. Safety in numbers at this stage, because the peloton are starting to get organised. You can see here the whole field is starting to regroup after the top of that climb. The lead gap is 1:55, so it is a fair old way to go yet.
Yes, it looked like the colours there, one of the Real Journeys team there with Ari Scott. Of course, he also rides for, the Black Spoke team traditionally around the country and a lot of the other racing. So they'll be all starting to team up together as they try to reel these 4 in. Everybody wants a stage victory. We've often had a bunch kick into Te Anau. Will we see that this year again?
4 riders all the way back at the front of this group, but once again that Black Spoke Pro Cycling Academy rider, number 25, Alexander White, he's sitting on the back and really trying to disrupt the flow of this front breakaway. So whether they're going to stay away or not, with the chase group starting to rev up, you can see things are starting to single file out a wee bit here at the front of the peloton. The Black Spoke Pro Cycling Academy are putting a bit of heat on. Their leader in yellow will be dictating terms and saying, hey, maybe time to reel things in a wee bit.
So with just over 20 kilometres to go, we still have this leading trio here. Looks like they've showered one of the riders as they make their way round the corner into Manapuri, and a picturesque view there of the lake. Now can these three stay clear? They'll get into time trial mode. This is where it's always on, Doug, for young and old.
And of course, having ridden this road before, sometimes, and just looking at the weather conditions here, it's actually still quite good. Sometimes you can end up with a bit of a block headwind, but the weather conditions have favoured a group like this staying away, and it's 3 versus the rest of the field. So they've still got a lot of work ahead of them, but there's every chance, if they can work and coordinate their effort, these guys may stay away still yet.
So it's Wright as the man in the King of the Mountains that has disappeared. He's done his job for the day, got his points over the Black Mount. He'll head back into the main peloton, no doubt. Meanwhile, Kennett and Odlin right at the front here, driving things. Both have got some very powerful sprints, and the young man on the back, he's getting the perfect ride here to be set up and try and take the victory, and they'll be very aware of the fact that he is getting a relaxing ride.
Paul Odland is just driving this group. He is a very, very seasoned campaigner, Paul, but his legs will be starting to feel it. The peloton are starting to chase, and you can see some of the other teams starting to hit the front of the group here. That was number 46, Caleb Butcher from the Base Solutions. So we're starting to see a few more other teams hit the front, trying to organise this chase and help out. It's going to be a tough run for these chaps.
Yes, it was interesting to note the Base Solutions racing team, of course, full of the elite track squad in there, and they've got some very good sprinters in amongst it, the likes of the Campbell Stewarts of this world. So they'll be trying to shut things down here. But meanwhile, Kennett, a former New Zealand representative on the track, he'll be well aware of the types of teams that will be chasing him and his former teammates on the track, as he does a bit of a move here to try and distance himself here, Doug. We know he's a very good pursuiter. This is the guy who was third at the individual pursuit at the Commonwealth Games. He'll be more than happy to do this.
I think he's just frustrated that perhaps that Blacksbreak Pro Cycling Academy rider was sitting on and disrupting the flow. So he's made a bid for glory on his own. A bold move and really putting all your eggs in one basket. So he'll be really hoping that the rest of the chasing peloton don't get too organised in behind him, but he has seriously blown things apart at this stage.
So here we have Kennett adopting the time trial mode. You would typically have the aero bars as he sort of repositions himself here. This is what you would see typically on a pursuit bike. But this man has decided it is time to try and get down low profile and make his bid for glory, as it looks like the other two guys are starting to pull the pin here. They've tried desperately to do it, but it's not going to work for them today.
Now, they've had a long day out the front. They've been on the charge here all the way through over the Black Mount climb, but the peloton here, you can see now things are starting to flow out a bit. There'll be a bit of a chase coming on. We're coming into the outskirts of Te Anau here, and Dylan Kennett's lead is now only 37 seconds. So he's either going to stay away through the finish here, you're out of sight, out of mind a bit, or this peloton is going to breathe down his neck, and it's going to be a huge finish.
Interesting to note the difference there in the peloton. Quite relaxed at the back there with the BJ Carter Builders and Insulators team. Meanwhile, they were driving it on the front there, the teams that are trying to set up their sprinters. Meanwhile, though, still Kennett. He is giving it everything here. He has been out for a long time here, Doug. With 10k to go, the body will be hurting.
Oh, he's very smooth. He's got a great technique, Dylan Kennett, but his face is giving him away. That man is in some serious pain at this stage.
He pumps the big gears as they desperately try to find something that'll just get them that little bit further, a little bit faster here. But when you've got a chasing group like this, and you can see the shoulders starting to roll, the head drops every now and then, this is starting to really hurt for the New Zealand representative.
Long breakaways like this are really tough, and you really do have to commit yourself like Dylan has. I think he's just broken his spirit there, though. He's had a look around over his shoulder, and this looks like it's game over for the day. A huge effort from Dylan Kennett and the Transport Engineering Tallies team, but his day has just finished at the front of this bike race.
Yes, the peloton won't be far away by the looks of his face there as he looked over his shoulder. You can see them starting to come towards him here. They're going to suck him up right into the outskirts of Te Anau here. This is all on now for the teams, and the Base Solutions team there, you can see them in the orange and the blue. They're starting to line up the men, the likes of the Campbell Stewarts, for the sprint finish.
this really falls into the hands of the sprinters, doesn't it? And it's going to be a superhuman effort for some of these teams to get their sprinters in, because the finish is downhill. It's a hard left-hander. There are a couple of judder bumps you've got to navigate your way through, but if you're not in position at this stage, it is awfully difficult with 1k to go in this finish, because it is so fast and you've got that tricky left-hand corner roundabout to navigate your way through. So it's game on, isn't it?
So it's all on for these teams here now as they approach the last few hundred metres for the sprint finish into Te Anau. They make their way up past the camping grounds. They have to deal with the roadside furniture there right through the centre of the road. They re-establish themselves. It's a tight turn into the finishing straight.
Position is everything in this finish, and coming into this last turn, you can see that Base Solutions team have really set their sprinter up for this final corner, but it is going to be a very, very tight finish. There's a couple of judder bumps. If you're not in place now, it's too late.
PowerNet right towards the front there in the blue. We haven't really seen them all day long other than Paul Odlin. Now they've got the likes of the Invercargill man, Corbin Strong. He'll be well positioned here. I can see the yellow jersey starting to make their way up here. The judder bars are about to come here as riders start to spread themselves across the road.
Yeah, this is really exciting. The tour leader is right up the front of this group and trying to stay out of as much trouble as he can. But like you said, the PowerNet boys have really set their boy up, and it appears it could be Corbin Strong starting to hit the front of this bike race.
Campbell Stewart and Corbin Strong, the two elite track squad members. It's Corbin Strong, the man from Invercargill, takes his first ever stage here in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland from Campbell Stewart and Tom Sexton of Invercargill. With the stage victory, Corbin Strong of Southland moves himself up into fourth place, just a mere 15 seconds now off Aaron Gate, who continues in the yellow jersey over his teammate Oram and local man Sexton at 9 seconds. Matt Zenovich picked up a few early points in the Harcourt Sprint Ace to continue to have that well secured. While Paul Wright, also on the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains, did the similar damage here throughout the stage to pick up extra points. Corbin Strong now not only takes out the stage victory, but also moves himself into the Henderson Construction under-23 lead. While Glenn Hayden on day 3 of the tour continues to lead in the Stonewood Homes silver jersey. Local man Blake Tate-Jones awarded the Share the Road Ambassadors Award. And it's Black Smoke Pro Cycling Academy with Aaron Gate and his teammates continuing to lead by a mere 3 seconds over Business South and Transport Engineering tallies in the Wednesday Cycles team classification.
Yeah, really special. Growing up in Southland, the Tour of Southland's a big reason why I got into cycling for a start. Growing up and watching the race come past my primary school and then following the Tour for the last 8 or so years, it's been a big part of my journey in cycling. So to get my first stage win means a lot, and hopefully it's the first of a few.
The racing was definitely on right from the gun today, with a group of us actually rolling off the front up the first little climb. It's always a tough start coming out of Riverton, and today didn't disappoint on that. It was a case of still trying to make the racing hard and still trying to get up there in the sprint at the finish, but you do have tomorrow and the day after in the back of your mind, but you still have to sort of take each day one day at a time and see how they come, and we just wanted to try and defend the yellow today and treat tomorrow like a new day.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at www.tourofsouthland.com.